IRFM wishes to advise that the views expressed on the Cutting Edge are not necessarily those of the company.
Listening to your radio, oh, Cutting Edge is on your stereo, yeah. Mutabaruka leads the way, so just you let the station play, yeah. Say your teachings got to hold on me, yeah. Well, this is Kimani and you're listening to, Mutabaruka. IRFM, Cutting Edge. Whoa!
You're putting up a resistance, but Muta gonna work it out, yes. You're putting up a resistance, Muta gonna work that out. Yo, you're tuned to the Cutting Edge. My name is Barry Sing.
Do you want a better Africa? Believe it or not, for Africa to change, the way religion is delivered must change. Churches should stop preaching about miracles and breakthroughs. Popular preaching such as sowing a seed or, give and it shall be given unto you, have been misinterpreted for personal gain. No wonder pastors of today are so rich and yet the whole congregation and people around them remain poor. We are stuck with a generation of Africans who act as if God is the rewarder of laziness and poverty. The message churches send is that it is possible to reap where you did not sow, meaning you can get something out of nothing. Why should a child choose to learn the hard way if there is an easier way? The live for today attitude does not create wealth and people die without leaving any legacy. You then sit and wonder why Africa is the way it is today? The gospel of prosperity should be shamed and work around the fact that laziness can never reap real success. Christianity has played a very big role to the fall of Africa today, but that is not what it is intended for. Spreading messages of instant success have led to a generation of people who are thirsty for instant results, immediate relief, and effortless profit. The messages should not just focus of tithing and sowing seed, blessings, miracles, breakthroughs, and wonders. Churches should stop glorifying riches acquired through miraculous sources, stop preaching fear and stop focusing on what the devil or witches did, does, or will do. Instead they should preach positive news and focus on messages that add value to the communities such as hard work, creativity, dedication, commitment, perseverance, and responsibility. Pastors can promote good community initiatives such as cleaning the surroundings, and encourage creativity and innovation. Instead of waiting for our governments to do what they do not do, we can start helping ourselves, through humanism. The brother who becomes a millionaire by simply sowing a seed, does not help build a better community, and the message of such success should not be spread and showcased. Instead the applause should go to someone who has succeeded by hard work and perseverance. Start preaching the gospel of working hard, produce goods and services, planning, critical thinking analysis, strategy, visibility plans, system building, market and customer analysis, and the process involved in production of goods and services. This is how noble people and wealth is created. Rushing a sick person to church for prayers does not prevent that person from dying, but correct medication and treatment will. Haven't you wondered why people in Africa still died of Ebola despite prayers? Preach the real word of God instead. You do not need the pastor's blessings to create wealth in life. Wealth and clean cities don't come by miracle or magic. Religious superstitions, such as the shout of, "I receive it," and the loudest shout of, "Amen," is not enough to fulfill your wishes. True religion and true Christianity must, and can only, produce productive youth. For Africa to be globally competitive, education alone is not enough. We need to nurture creativity, innovation, and good governance. What is an engineering degree doing if you cannot even produce a water pump? Ask yourself a question: What have other people created with a similar qualification other than just looking for a job? Please, be slow to anger, slow to judge, quick to listen and try to understand. If not for you, do it for your children.
You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Everywhere I go in this continent, I know Africa's sweet too. Africa's sweet, Everywhere I go in this continent, I know Africa's sweet too. Africa's sweet, yeah. But without unity we won't grow. Without unity we won't know what the future might hold for the young and the old, yeah.
We got to do it right, yeah. Turn the darkness into light, yeah.
With Mutabaruka, we are listening to the whole of it. You know here, continent, the end, the end.
Everywhere I go in this continent, I know Africa's sweet too. Africa's sweet, yeah. But without unity we won't grow. Without unity we won't know what the future might hold for the young and the old, yeah.
We got to do it right, yeah. Turn the darkness into light, yeah. Plus there's no need for us to fight, yeah. It's our time, yeah. Africa, yeah.
Hey Papa, wanna make you proud of time, mama, old, I'm hot supper. One jana, so I'ma praise the Lord and make sure I'm helping my brother and my sister too. That's just the truth. African blood, no, it ain't escapable. Everybody on this planet is one. About time, everybody come together as one. Together as one. Africa,
Africa, yeah, it's our time. Forward only, no rewind. No one can ever deny us.
Africa,
Africa, yeah, it's our time. Forward only, no rewind. No one can ever deny us.
Africa, Africa, I got my blessings from Africa. Africa, 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 I got my ginger from Africa.
See all my people, let me hear you. All my people, let me see you. We'll be rising to the top, oh. Nobody go ever stop, oh.
See, back in the day, they were lying to us, they would say that we would never ever rise up, that we would never ever fly up. But now you hear it every day, and I'll play Afrobeat everywhere. See, Africa, it's your time, oh. Like the sun, we gon' shine, oh.
anywhere you there, put your hands in the air, then you wave your flag, yeah.
Anywhere you there, put your hands in the air, make you wave your flag, yeah. Africa, oh yeah.
Africa,
Africa, yeah, it's our time. Forward only, no rewind. No one can ever deny us.
Africa, Mother, rise, you rise. I'ma keep on shining. I'ma climb up. I'ma climb up out of there. Down there very low. But I'ma let you know. Climb up out of there. Here I am. Have to do it on my own. Pick up the pieces. Take any chance I get. Yeah, carry on. There's a better person in me, waiting for that day to shine. With all the shame, with all the pain, I'm in time. I'ma climb on. I'ma climb up out of this. Down here very low, but I'ma let you know. Climb up out of this.
Brown-eyed people are the ones who originated or who founded every major religion on this earth. No white people have ever founded a major religion. Now you need to realize the contributions that have been made to society, to civilization, by brown-eyed people, by people of color. I'm talking about people of color here, folks. And most of us are not aware of those things because we live in a racist society and because we are educated by a racist school system that only teaches us about white contributions. And that's a fact. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. If we would start telling the truth in schools, we would not have racism. We could cure racism in this country. Somebody said, I heard somebody... I heard somebody in the green room say that racism is inbred. No, it is not. Racism is not part of the human condition. Racism is a learned response. You have to be taught to be a racist. You are not born racist. You are born into a racist society. And like anything else, if you can learn it, you can unlearn it. But people like this choose not to unlearn it because they're afraid they will lose power if they share it with other people. We are afraid of sharing power. That's what it's all about. That's the reason men won't share power with women because they are afraid they will lose power. People, if we would share power, we would empower many people so that we would all be more powerful. What we're dealing here with is mental illness. Racism is mental illness. Racism was defined by the Joint Council on President's Joint Council on Mental Health in Children in 1959 as being the #1 mental health problem among children in the United States. And they didn't say among black children. They said among children.
I agree.
If you judge other people by the color of their skin, by the amount of a chemical in their skin, you have a mental problem. You are not dealing well with reality.
Cutting Edge with Mutabaruka. We are listening to all our meds. You know here? Cutting Edge. The end. The end.
good night. This is the Cutting Edge, and I refer me there with you. And next Wednesday, sitting in with us for a little while is Sanjay. Let me see a picture of them on the Instagram there. You look good. Trust me, you look good on Instagram. But most of them look good on Instagram still. What's your name? Keshiba. Keshiba must about 150 posted picture on it. In all different size, shape and form. I don't know where she gets so much picture from. But nobody now look on them. 28 views and all them things there. 10 views. 40 days, 10 views. Something wrong with the one. Shamara too. Shamara have some nice looking picture, but nobody now look on them either. Cause they make me book them up. Wanna look good still. This is the Cutting Edge, and I refer me there with you. First order of business, you know, our brother named Mikey Bennett. Mikey Bennett, as you know, is a long time producer, and he used to do with Home T4 and all these things. He have a studio down at Grafton Road there where and the good things, wonderful things, and I'm going to go down and go record already. More than one, more than two, more than three times. But you know, someone's take it upon themselves to really pass on the baton to other ones, especially young people, and Mikey Bennett is one such youth, brethren, who pass on the baton and who is passing on the batons to other ones. So him have a project going on. We want to really facilitate the information station. We want to facilitate him, make him talk about this project, this new project. I think is a new project that is going on with him. Yeah, Mikey?
Daughter.
How you doing, man?
Give thanks. Well, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. Enjoy it.
All right. No, before
give thanks for the introduction and everything. Yeah, man.
Yeah, before we start talk about that, Feluki, we could talk about Feluki, yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, we just got we have a chat group and we're just in the chat with him. He did he's in Mexico, as you know.
Oh, he's in Mexico. Oh.
Yeah, I'm in Mexico. Got to Mexico. We got X amount of funds. Never enough, but he did an operation and the doctors figured they were quite happy with what taking place.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So he might have to do some radiation thing. But he just did a CT scan today. So by tomorrow we'll have all of the details and a kind of outline of the treatment for going forward. So I just got off the thing with him. So that is him thing. And him spirits up and kind of keep us up to even sometimes we feel down. Yeah. But it's one of them things there. And as you saw, it was a wonder when the people got together to help them with one. Because all the way, like I tell people all the way, every time there is a situation, we as musicians are called upon to lend the support and things.
Yeah.
And so we're really happy for how the public turned out to support one of ours. And we did. And at some time during the game, you kind of feel frustrated and feel that the help not coming fast enough. But you get a call the next day and someone says, "Listen, I didn't mean to do this, and I never get a chance. So here it is," and you spirit up again.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of just living off that energy, and we have to just keep. It's your will, and God, we have to just be prepared to accept that situation. But at the same time,
yeah. Actually, I said that there is money owed, or him need some more money for continue.
Need more money, man. I'm going to need more money because you see, we envy the kind of faith that him having. Because those couple of just roll up and say, "Boy, now go have because the money looks tall." But he did the operation, and like I said, based on the CT scan that we're supposed to get tomorrow, we'll know the extent to which
need money
more further treatment. And in Jamaica and wherever, treatment need money.
Yeah. So the money is for ongoing, not for now where I do this or no, but for ongoing.
No, he did the thing, but you see, because as you know, well, I don't think most of us don't know, but when there is a operation, like a cancer surgery, one of the surgeons have like 2 or 3 choices. What happens after? Because them some things the knife don't get, and usually what them recommend is like a low dose of chemo to kind of pick up everything that them know that the knife surgeon wasn't able to pick up. Whether it's chemo, whether it's radiation or whether it's just vitamin treatment. That will be determined based on what the CT scan.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, man. So these scans becoming more and more, miraculous in terms of what they're able to show from time to time.
Yeah.
It's just a pity that the medication not as miraculous in a lot of cases. But like I say, and he said it too, is that if him is a guinea pig for through a lot of things, alternatives, then so be it. But we learn. I've learned so much about this thing.
Yeah,
although my mom passed from cancer, but it shouldn't be a death sentence in 2017. And like I say, money shouldn't make nobody dead. Or the lack of money. That's our reality.
Well, all we can do is just say.
Yeah, man. All we can do is open. And sometimes, like I said to my friend, it's like shoes that the plan for buy the extra sneaker. You don't have space in the closet to put. Send the money, come give me. I can put it on for look. It's simple.
Yeah, man. Give thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, now this UTech conjunction with UTech thing. Tell the people them what exactly.
All right. Well, there's this program that we have at UTech. It is a part of Professor Hamilton's brainchild called it's a Free with Jamaica project. I was asked last year if I could come up with a program that could two or three things. The one, the most important was increase the technical competence. In other words, improve on it. Because one of the things we know, Muta, in a lot of situations, a lot of things that take place in the country that we consider very negative are because youngsters don't have no hope, don't have no skill, don't have a lot of alternatives. So crime is right around the corner. So whether it's scamming, whether it's I don't think lead to violence, or whether it's the human trafficking, or just intolerance, a lot of it centered around people who don't have no job, don't have no skill. We have an industry, we have a legacy, as you know, in the music business, and everybody wants to be a musician. However, we have never approached it like how track and field approach things. Track and field, to me, in Jamaica, have the greatest template for unearthing talent, for mentoring talent, for coaching and things. And what it use is coaching. What takes place at Boys and Girls Champs is a culmination of all the little sports days and all of the coaches and all of the things that have gone through. When you think that the greatest, athlete the world has ever seen right now, there was a point in their career when people figure, say, boy, I'm done and peak. And a man got to him and said, boss, allow me to mentor you and coach you for the next 2 years and do exactly what I say. And I can make you the greatest sprinter in history. And the rest is history right now. Ben Mills came with a scientific approach to coach and mentor the whole thing. And that has filtered down in Jamaica through the whole track. It was a product of a number of things.
Yeah.
Schools bought into it, parents bought into it, communities bought into it. And so everybody said, listen, here is something. If you have the ability to run, go to coaching. And we want to apply the same thing to the music. Because like I was telling somebody yesterday, as popular as the Olympics is or the track and field is, Olympics is every 4 years, World Championship is every 2 years.
Music
every week, musicians leave Jamaica to go to foreign to earn.
Of course.
And as me and you know, Muta, we do have what it is that we cannot fill the request that we want out there for very talented people. We're just not turning them out as fast as we think. There's this misconception in Jamaica that every corner you can find an next great singer. No. Me in the business, I know how hard it is. Ask the young producers who have to devise in the same set of talents. Ask Sunsplash and Sunfest who have to be put in the same set of people on year after year. I believe, however, that in every little in Jamaica, there's another Jimmy Cliff, there's another Peter Tosh, there's another Mutabaruka with its kind of talent that does need to be found, put through a program, encouraged to be them best. And we have a curriculum that says, listen, here is what we can do. We need to be able to say to high school or prep school teachers, listen, if you see a young person in your team that have a particular talent, just like how you spot them for champs and things, in the art,
Yeah.
who can perform, who can sing, who can write, kind of move them in our direction. So there's a career path leading, so parents can get excited about this person who does singing every day.
Yeah. So when you say move them in your direction, you have a place, like a building where this function from?
All right, let me tell you the physics. Okay, so the program is called the Masters in Residence Program. It's funded by the USAID, and it is part of the Free Jamaica program project, right? So we have a budget to do certain things. So we have a performance coach, we have a voice coach, and the songwriting coach, and we have the management. So we're offering 3-4 cohorts: management, songwriting, performing. Right now.
Yeah.
So it is housed at UTech, So in terms of where it is, I'm employed to UTech as a part-time.
Okay.
To deal with this particular program.
Mm-hmm.
However, the program, is not confined to, as you know, in the day and age, we have both virtual and physical places.
Yeah, movable, yeah.
Yeah, so, we are, and we lose a lot of student time, we lose a lot of, there's a lot of workshops that take place. So the coaching and the mentorship is done in various facets. We have at least twice a week, we're at UTech, on the UTech campus, to have classes, for workshops, and for seminars. And, there's a management staff that manages the program, like any other effective program that takes care of, the attendance and this and all of the disbursements that need to take place and the procurement that needs to take place.
All right, so let me ask you something.
Man.
It's something where you have to be recommended to, or somebody can just walk in and say they would have like this happen.
Well, what you'd like is, what you'd want to do to apply, and which is why we're on the program tonight, we're looking for talent, the best talent that we can find. So if you think you are a singer, you go to the Free Jamaica Facebook page and you apply for the performance thing. You will be invited to an audition. Okay. If you're applying for the songwriting thing, you go and you follow instructions. You'll be asked to send in something that you've written, or if or something that you've recorded, or something that if you get a recommendation from Muta to listen, this poet is the best thing I've heard forever. It's definitely okay. Here's somebody that we need to see. For the management thing, it's pretty much going to become based on your qualification and what we think you're looking for.
All right, but wait, hold on, don't go so fast. We're going to write down the website where you say the ones them can link for.
Yeah, man.
Wait, hold on. All right. Tell me again.
Is it Free Jamaica Facebook page? Free JA.
Free JA.
And you see, yeah. Then you go on to when you go on there, you see the icon.
F-I-W-I.
M-I-R.
No, F-I-W-I.
F-I, yeah, Free.
Yeah.
Free JA.
Yeah.
So you apply, and then it gives you an option to apply for the area that you want to get trained in.
All right. You talk about now instrumentation, voice training.
No, we're not doing instrumentation. We're doing voice coaching. Okay, in other words, no. What if you? So we have 3 cohorts: performers, songwriting, management.
Okay.
So if you get accepted to the performance training, you will be assigned a vocal coach as well as a performance coach.
All right. So this is free, or you have to pay?
It is free. It's free. It is funded by the USAID. Yeah, it is free.
I see you sing. What you know, brethren? I see you sing. I don't know about the program when you say free.
Yeah, well.
I can't up the car tomorrow, man.
Well, let me tell you the other good thing about it, though. It is also on the Western campus in Montego Bay.
Oh, eh?
So we're going to be doing, we try to do a thing, but they must having some problems. So we figure we never get to see the kind of talent.
So who you contact down at the place them? Who you contact when you go there? Who you contact?
When you go on,
you have to do it online first.
The online thing makes things easy to work out. People can call me, and people have been calling, and I send them straight to the Facebook page because we have some information that we want. And in this day and age, to track people, we send out email, we send out text, we send out WhatsApp here because listen, here is it. Also, we have to think about that we want that paper trail or electronic trail.
Yeah, you know, I know 100 people go down at the school and have to stand up there. And...
No, we don't need that. I mean, we take on the work for go through the 100 application and see which one. And everybody who applies for the thing will be auditioned. I can guarantee that. And audition by at least 3 professionals in the business.
All right,
so it's not a joke thing.
All right, if you get accepted now, in what length period of time each person?
Well, it's a 6-month comprehensive program. It's a comprehensive, real, like your work.
How much time a week?
At least twice a week. But like I said, because you're dealing with individual coaches. So you got to arrange the performer and his performance coach and his voice coach are going to have one-on-one sessions as well as the group sessions. So we have compulsory programs that you need. On a Tuesday evening, we have seminars, we have workshops, and we have a lot of group sessions. So we need to do it.
Okay.
What I should also say, one of the things that bring the program together is a musical. So we just wrote a musical, and we have 20 original songs for the musical from group one. Because this is the second year, you know.
Oh, it's the second year to go on?
It's the second year, so we kind of have the template down to a science, you know.
So what make you hide it, man?
Yeah, it's my bad. But we gotta make sure so we get it right for Jamaica first, you know.
Yeah.
So this one now, the next one now, so the people coming in will get to audition for a musical, and we will just realize how important a musical is, because you get to look at the performance training and the songwriting for it, and then the management people will have to manage the whole process and try to make some money, monetizing the whole musical when it's finished.
Yeah.
So it fits very well into the whole program.
Yeah.
But I want to tell young people that listen, I'm a very hard taskmaster, as so are the other people, because like I said, this is not a joke time. This is not a weekend. This is not a vacation.
Yeah.
This is serious work. Serious work.
Yes.
We're spending money. The program buying studio time. So we're not going. It's not a joke.
Joke business.
And we have the very best. I think very best professionals.
You want to name somebody?
Communication coach.
You want to name somebody professional?
Like I say, it's the kind of thing I wish we won't see that when we were trying to do at the right time.
Yeah. No, man, if you want to name somebody professionals who involved with it, like yourself.
Well, I'm the songwriting coach. We have Philip Clark, who works at UTEC, who runs the Center for the Arts. Michael Holgate,
the musical Garvey, the Garvey man.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other Michael Harris as vocal coach.
Okay.
So you see, we have all of the mics that we need right now. So we can make a
we are not the whole out of the Michael.
Yeah, man. 3 mics. 3 tenors. Well, not tenors, but 3 mics.
Yeah.
No, but we have Fabian, who is a communications guru, and he does a lot of the communications training. People, you'll be surprised how much people don't have what we call an elevator pitch, can't sell themselves effectively, can't represent what they're doing. So these are the things that you do. You write your bio, be able to do an effective interview, how to sing, how to present yourself, and let me tell you, Muta, it's the hardest I've worked in probably 15 years. I tell you, I've never imagined, but it's the most fulfilled I've felt for a long time. When you see a young person who go up on stage and shy and doing everything wrong in terms of representing himself, and after 2 sessions, you see that same person go back and think. And let me tell you, we tape you when you come in, video tape you throughout the process, and at the end of it, we have the coach have a chance to go back and look
on developments.
Exactly. So in other words, I can speak without any kind of hesitation that we have a program now that works.
All right, I can ask you a question now. Since last year, you can name anybody who would say passed through the course and is now part of the music industry, the music fraternity.
Well, let me tell you, it's kind of I am making some predictions now. There are some people who you probably know. Indie. There's Jamila. Jamila plays the double bass and things. And she has a song now which I have no doubt is going to be one of the female anthems in Jamaica for the next thing. We have a Tamo J, we have a Jazai, and we have a Minori. We have at least 6 people who right now who can hang a hat and listen. We have been sending them. I mean, requests have been coming in. Wherever they have performed, people have called to request that we get them to come back, come to something. And they have been performed. I've actually used them on 5 commercials so far to rave reviews.
Yeah.
So both as writers and as performers, we have used them. And so them graduated from the first set of program now. So, and with the kind of, I'm always here to support them. So every opportunity I get, I say, and we get these calls from time to time. Somebody, just this evening I got a call from a place wanting a Christmas program. And I said, yes. I'll be right.
By the way. Yeah, Jackie loved the band when it up to the other night, Up at Red Bones there, Maxine Walters.
Yeah, and that is a young, but you see what can happen when young people. So that is my cousin's band.
Which school them come from?
JC.
No, them sweet man. Well, hear my lady I suggest now. I have a little singer here, named Xylophone. She said, I should have connect them and say, because Xylophone has been on the music scene as a little 13-year-old, when she had 12-year-old. And she envisioned said she could have link with them, such who should talk to you?
You mean link with the band, the band in 8?
Yeah, the band, yeah. Them
well, Rowan, do I?
No, but if you tell me about Rowan, I can find him.
But just give my number when you done. I can make the connection.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
because we are work with a little girl, just like how you say you work with. We are work with a little daughter after about a year now. We carry gas studio we have a new tune. I'm going to play the tune if you when you don't have before you can listen to her.
You may listen, man.
Yeah, and my wife, I say, she envisioned that little girl that sing with a band there.
Well.
And she really, my wife have a keen, she have a vibes when she come on to that still.
Oh, good, good.
All right.
Like I said, that's an easy hookup. Right?
Yeah.
It's your family that.
All right, so tell me the days them when
Well, what I want to say now, because sometimes you don't know, sometimes some youngsters not listen. I am appealing to parents or uncles or aunties or people like yourself who know some like a talent, who don't even realize how talented they are.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking for average talent. I try to find some good talent because we want to move it fast. We figure we can move a good talent to a great talent within a short period of time.
Of course.
So we industry need right now about 15 to 20 really good young singers right now. That's Singers, vocalists. I mean, when I say singers, I mean vocalists.
Yeah.
DJs, sing but at a particular level. We want some more Sanchez and some Brian Gould and some more. We want all of them.
Yes.
We want all of them at that
level.
Level.
Yeah, man, definitely, right? Yeah.
We understand now, and that record not selling no more.
No.
The two major source of income is songwriting and performance.
And touring,
so we want these people how to perform. We want to make sure that when people see people, them call and tell them friends, listen, you have to go watch a person. You have to. The experience is such a powerful one that it lead and people want to invest money.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have to be financing all of your recordings, that means that you're not impressing enough people. And money out there, money is out there looking for the right kind of investment, and that is what we're doing. That's as you mentioned that we have a legal person now, so there's a lot of legal training involved in the program. The whole, apart from the thing that Jamaica come, we have on staff a lawyer.
Yes.
We're going to contract administration, the whole from Drum Street, everything you need to do to protect yourself and to, be user friendly then. In the business.
Comprehensive, man. It sounds like a really
no, trust me. If you're excited, make sense.
Yeah,
it's very comprehensive, and it's the kind of thing that I'm happy I got an opportunity to do. I mean, like I said, it's a work for work, but at night time it's smile.
Rewarding.
Oh God, yeah, man. And one of these, what I'll do shortly, as soon as we get some of the music mix for the thing.
Yes.
I'll call you and send you some, and you can.
So we always did
talk
play
to a couple
them.
of people.
All right.
Because we're really the next part of the thing is to kind of give them a little launch part.
All right.
Using all of the contacts that we have.
All right, we have to move now. Give thanks. Yeah,
no man, give thanks for the reason, man.
Yeah, man. And just keep informed, though, you know. Anytime you see me at any function, just say, Muta, you want to see this and this happening.
I will. You know me know if you find him.
All right, sir. All right, give thanks. So, hang up the phone and listen to the little data me I tell you about.
I got that right now, man.
Yeah, all right, give thanks. Yes, that was, me I tell you, that bridging now, Home T4, for those of you who know Home T4 from them time. Why you look back a case, you know. My farmer, schoolmate from Kingston Technical High School, yes. Well, Mikey Bennett was part of that group, and he was also one of them big producers from down at Music Works. With them days there, yes, with Gussie Clark and them man there, big hits, them in my ball over the place. So, he must spirit a movement, you know, to train songwriters, performers, and managers. Very, very important in at this time, yeah. We need some serious trainer and trainees for work with the music, you know, because we are come out, you know, it now go work out now we're there. I mean, we can count on one finger the good music there, man, the professionalism in the music as it relates to the internationalization of reggae dancehall music. Yes, so we're there with you. So, Mikey, here we go.
There's a place in our hearts, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel fear or dread. We stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing. So make a better world, make a better world. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are...
Yeah, the time is 5 minutes past 11. Yeah, this is the Culture Edge on RFM, you know, say we're going to turn it over now to Pat Clark, Jamaica Roots and Culture.
Welcome to Jamaican Roots and Culture. I'm Pat Clark. Bunny Wailer is a living legend in Jamaica's music history. Born on April 10, 1947, as Neville O'Reilly Livingston, Bunny Wailer, also known as Jabi, is a Jamaican singer, songwriter, and percussionist. A 3-time Grammy Award winner, he is considered one of the long-time standard bearers of reggae music. In 1963, Bunny Wailer formed the Wailing Wailers with Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. Junior Brathwaite and Beverly Kelso were also members of the band. Bunny Wailer tended to sing lead vocals less often than Marley and Tosh in the early years. But when Bob Marley left Jamaica in 1966 for Delaware, Bunny Wailer began to record and sing lead vocals on some of his own compositions, such as Who Feels It Knows It, I Stand Predominant, and Sunday Morning. His music is said to have been influenced by gospel and soul of Curtis Mayfield. In 1967, Bunny Wailer recorded This Train, based on a gospel standard, for the first time at Studio One. Bunny Wailer continued to sing with the Wailers when Bob Marley returned to the island from Delaware. He contributed to the distinctive harmonies that the group became famous for. Wailer sang lead on Dreamland, Riding High, Brainwashing, and on one verse of the Wailers' Keep On Moving, both produced by Lee Scratch Perry. In 1973, each of the three founding Wailers operated their own label. Marley with the Tough Gong, Tush with HIM Intel Diplo, and Bunny Wailer with Solomonic. Bunny Wailer sang lead vocals on Reincarnated Souls, the B-side of the Wailers' first island single of the new era, and on 2 tracks on the Wailers' last trio LP, Burning, Pass It On, and Hallelujah Time. By then, Bunny Wailer was recording singles in his own right, cutting Searching for Love, Lifeline, and Bide Up. Bunny Wailer toured with the Wailers in England and the United States, but soon became reluctant to leave Jamaica. He and Tush became more marginalized in the group as the Wailers became an international success and attention was increasingly focused on Bob Marley. Bunny subsequently left the Wailers in 1973 to pursue a solo career after refusing to tour when Chris Blackwell wanted the Wailers to go on tour in the United States. Before leaving the Wailers, Bunny became more focused on his spiritual faith. He identified with the Rastafari movement, as did the other Wailers. He has also written much of his own material, as well as re-recording a number of cuts from the Wailers' catalogue. Bunny Wailer has recorded primarily in the roots style, in keeping with his often political and spiritual messages. He and Tush would frequently sing each other's background vocals in the start of their solo careers. The album Blackheart Man is a good example of his roots reggae style. After leaving the Wailers, Bunny Wailer experimented with other musical styles. However, he had a dance hall rocker's edge that was best exemplified by the album Bunny Wailers Sings the Wailers, in which he reinterprets some of the Wailers' material as a solo roots singer, backed by a solid Sly and Robbie bass roots reggae grouping. Bunny Wailer won the Grammy Award for Best Reggae Album in 1991 for the album Time Will Tell, a tribute to Bob Marley, 1995 for Crucial Roots Classics, and 1997 for Hall of Fame, a tribute to Bob Marley's 50th anniversary. He was also featured in the album True Love by Toots and the Maytals, which won the Grammy Award in 2004 for Best Reggae Album, and showcased many notable musicians including Willie Nelson, Eric Clapton, Gwen Stefani of No Doubt, Ben Harper, Bonnie Raitt, The Roots, Ryan Adams, and Keith Richards. In August 2012, it was announced that Bunny Wailer would receive the Order of Jamaica, and in 2016, he played a month-long Blackheart Man's tour to celebrate the 40th anniversary of his 1976 album. On October 16, 2017, Bunny Wailer was awarded the Order of Merit by the Jamaican government. Jamaica continues to honor the living legend. And now, to end Jamaican roots and culture, here's our famous quotation from the Black diaspora. "I have never been contained unless I made the prison." The words of Marie Evans. For Jamaican Roots and Culture, I'm Pat Clark.
Yes. Pat Clark, continue the journey, Jamaican Roots and Culture.
Full moon so bright, traffic car delight.
She got the research. I love her researchings. Believe you me, I researching them is really something else. Okay, what were they? We're at this. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, Trinidad. Trinidad and Brazil have them carnival. But Rastaman in Jamaica have them herb festival. Because we're in the tribal.
The music you step, man. Step in music. This is the cutting edge. Yes. Big music. You know, last week we go play a tape and we never get to play it because of the whole heap of Montego Bay issues where they go on. Well, you know, we're going to play it tonight, yeah. And it is really a documentary on Port Royal. And after we've done that, we are going to go to, after 12, you know, say after 12, usher in the 2nd of November, which is the coronation, celebration of Emperor Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, conquering Lion of Judah, elect of God, light of the world. Those titles was not given to him by no Rasta. It is the official title of the emperor. Rastafari, Haile Selassie I. So we're going to celebrate musically after this, what we call documentary on Port Royal. And I think it's a very interesting documentary. If you're never interested, you won't tell if you listen to it. So we want to bring you live. When we say live now, we are talking about the program. On your radio. Live on your radio now. A documentary on Port Royal. Here goes.
To the casual eye, it may look like nothing more than a sleepy little fishing village, typical of those found throughout the Caribbean. But Port Royal is different. Beneath its waters lies a unique time capsule, a sunken city more than 300 years old.
Port Royal is the most important underwater archaeological site in the Western Hemisphere. There's more history and archaeology down there than 50 or 100 shipwrecks all combined.
The history of Port Royal's sunken city, its legendary rise, its catastrophic fall, and promising rebirth begins in the middle of the 17th century when European nations fought over possession of land in the New World.
It's hard to underestimate the importance of the Caribbean in that period. The Caribbean was the Wild West for Europe. It was the frontier. And the pirates and the privateers, the buccaneers, they were the vanguard of the expansionist countries and responsible for achieving nationalist aims and also for a lot of the immigration.
If the Caribbean was Europe's Wild West, then Port Royal was its Dodge City, a boom town full of pirates, prostitutes, and purveyors, and where silver and gold were as plentiful as rum. Its rapid growth began just after England seized Jamaica from Spain in 1655. The British Crown, seeking to prevent the island from being retaken, immediately built Fort Charles, the first of 6 defenses, and one of the few buildings that would withstand the Great Quake. The Crown also recruited a cutthroat class of seafaring souls to harass Spanish ships and settlements in the Caribbean. The response was overwhelming. They came from as close as the island of Tortuga, where the infamous Brethren of the Coast, or Buccaneers, were kicked out by the Spanish, and from as far away as France, Holland, and of course, England. Those who accepted official commissions were called privateers. Those who operated independently were pirates. Either way, these rough-and-ready men formed a fearless fleet and made Port Royal their base of operations.
Port Royal became a pirate haven, pirate heaven really, because it lay at the center of the Caribbean, and the English wanted to dominate the Spanish shipping lanes. Spain was wealthy but weak, and England and the other European powers wanted their share of the New World riches. And Jamaica was in a wonderful location, and Port Royal an even better one, on the south side of the island, with a wonderful sweeping quay that formed a natural harbor that could easily hold 500 ships.
Nearly everyone, it seems, in Port Royal was a pirate at one time or another. Protecting the island in exchange for plunder was too good an offer to refuse.
Being a pirate was a very opportunistic way of making a living. People would do it off and on, and so it wasn't that you was a pirate exclusively. You might be working in a tavern in Port Royal, and then one of the merchants is fronting the money for an individual, and they're going to go off on a raiding of one of the coastal Spanish towns, and so you would go with them. But then when you came back, well, you would just go back to your normal job. So it was an occupation that people crisscrossed back and forth out all the time.
Commodore Christopher Mings, a British naval officer and a privateer, brought in Port Royal's first great haul. More than 20 chests filled with silver coins and gems worth £500,000. His tactics earned him the nickname El Diablo, the devil from the Spaniards. These hand grenades help explain why. Mings and his successors used them as part of their arsenal to terrorize Spanish vessels carrying trade goods from Europe and the Orient. The iron balls filled with gunpowder were lit with a fuse, then tossed onto the deck of a galleon. The explosion caused death and injury. When the smoke cleared, the Spaniards surrendered their silk and silver. The practice proved remarkably successful. There were no serious attempts by Spain to retake Jamaica, and everyone got rich. Within 7 years of Port Royal's establishment, so much gold and silver had poured into its coffers from piracy that there was more running cash there, proportionate to the population, than in London. A resident observed, "The town, being as it were the storehouse or treasury of the West Indies, is always like a continual mart or fair, where all sorts of choice merchandises are daily imported." As this salvaged Japanese sword suggests, the markets of Port Royal were a cornucopia of plunder and contraband, a place where anything from Oriental objects of art to African slaves could be had for a price.
Any of the material that was coming in through piracy into Port Royal within 2 or 3 days was now in the hands of the merchants. And so it's the mercantile industry of Port Royal that actually made it the wealthiest English town in the New World.
Port Royal was also the most populous English town in the New World. Bigger than Boston, it boasted a population of between 6,000 and 8,000 people. A brass menorah recovered from a sunken synagogue reflects their diversity. At a time when the British colonies of North America were largely single-faith enclaves, Port Royal supported Jewish, Quaker, Catholic, and Anglican houses of worship. The local clergy's faith, however, was sorely tested. 1 out of every 4 buildings in town was either a brothel or a tavern, prompting one reverend to condemn Port Royal as the most wicked and sinful place on earth. The pirates' decadent ways were indeed legendary. When they returned from their adventures, they were only too eager to blow their booty, indulging their every vice. According to an early history of Jamaica, wine and women drained them of their wealth to such a degree that in little time, some of them were reduced to beggary. Port Royal's most celebrated prostitute, Mary Carlton, was likened to a barber's chair. No sooner was one out than another was in. The governor of Port Royal commented that the Spaniards wondered much at the sickness of our people until they knew the strength of our drinks, but then wondered more that they were not all dead.
Port Royal, the wicked city, was noted for its drinking, debauchery, gambling, etc. And of course, these guys imbibed from morning to night. And a lot of guys made their own drinks, especially the rum, which was called Kill Devil's rum. And a lot of times it was mixed with gunpowder. And in the house of a David Owens that we worked in, we found his still. This was used for making rum. Of course, it was heated under here, and stuff was distilled and put in onion bottles like you see here, so named because of the shape. And in this particular house, we found several hundred of these onion bottles. A lot of them were still sealed. We had used hypodermic needles and got an idea what the contents were. And these guys didn't mess around just with drinking with little small glasses or jiggers. They used big things like you see here. This is a German beer stein made of stoneware, or you could call it a tankard. It's actually a shape of a tankard. Some people call them flagons. And so you can imagine, it would take 2 of these bottles just to fill one of these. And when a guy was drunk or came back from a new sortie where he captured a whole bunch of treasures, they'd go down with barrels, running down the street with barrels, and insist everybody had to take a drink. And they filled this thing to the brim and said, chug-a-lug. And could you imagine drinking that much run? You just pass out and fall in your bippy. So those were the great days to live. Too bad I couldn't have been there myself.
If there was one man who personified Port Royal's raucous social scene, he was Henry Morgan, pirate extraordinaire. He didn't just raid ships. He invaded countries. His exploits, more than anyone else's, would give Port Royal its mythic aura. Of all the pirates who made their base in Port Royal, none was more famous than Henry Morgan. He had come to Jamaica from Wales as an indentured servant, but soon took up freebooting. His exploits on the high seas made him the most celebrated and feared pirate of the 17th century.
He's separated from other pirates because he was a brilliant tactician. He was courageous, many of them are, but in spite of the fact that he often had fallings out with the men of his company, he was incredibly successful.
Morgan's expeditions rivaled those of any nation's army of the period. His most ambitious raid took place in 1670, when his force of 2,000 buccaneers invaded Panama City, the main depository of Spanish gold and silver on Central America's Pacific coast.
They made an incredible trek through the jungle. They didn't take any stores with them. They counted on finding food. They didn't. They almost starved to death. The men were actually cutting up their shoes and boiling the shoe leather and their pieces of their leather pouches to eat.
When Morgan's force finally arrived in Panama City, a desperate battle ensued in which fleeing Spanish soldiers burned the city down and loaded its treasures onto departing ships. Once in control, Morgan's men tortured residents until they revealed where they had hidden their valuables. The booty piled up quickly. Silver plate, gold ingots, and 750,000 pieces of 8.
When they got back to the Caribbean coast, again at great cost to life, men dropping of disease and jungle fever, there was a falling out. After all that effort, there were only 200 pieces of 8 per man. When Morgan sailed off ahead of some of the men, they felt that he had skimmed off the best for himself.
The men may have been referring to these pieces. Rarely put on public view, they are known as Morgan's silver, believed to be the only known plunder remaining from the raid on Panama City. Upon his return to Port Royal, Morgan was hailed as a conquering hero, but King Charles was not pleased. England was now at peace with Spain. The Spanish king threatened to declare war if those who destroyed Panama City went unpunished. In response, King Charles imprisoned the colonial governor who approved Morgan's venture. But a different fate awaited the popular pirate.
The British Crown really needed to get rid of the pirates at this point because they were developing their own commercial, viable colonies, and the pirates were becoming an embarrassment. And so what a better way to catch pirates than to set a pirate to do it?
The king knighted Morgan and appointed him lieutenant governor of Jamaica. By day, he sat in judgment of his fellow buccaneers. But at night, he secretly arranged for them to continue their trade for a price. But it was Sir Henry who ultimately paid it.
It must have been extremely difficult for Morgan to have been the buccaneer par excellence and then have to sit in judgment on petty pirates and buccaneers. And he sank into debauchery and drunkenness and was a kind of a shambling old mess at the end. But this is the story of piracy, and it's certainly the story of Port Royal, which was brash and bright for a while and then was extinguished.
Morgan died a bitter, broken alcoholic in 1688. A short poem mourned the passage of the man and his times. You was a flyer, Morgan. You was the lad to crowd when you was in your flagship. But now you're in your shroud. Morgan's era was over, but Port Royal continued to thrive into the early 1690s as a pirate haven.
Sometimes we're as many as 150 buccaneer pirate ships right in here, and of all different nationalities. I mean, we're talking about people who were plundering in the Red Sea, plundering off of Madagascar, all around the world. They all came here.
But the boom could have gone bust at any moment, not from sudden political changes, but rather from geological shifts. Port Royal was precariously situated on a thin spit of land at the tip of the Palisados Peninsula.
It's unconsolidated sand with the water table of 1 foot to 2 feet beneath it. And so they build this town up on it, and you can't dig foundations for the houses because you hit the water table too quickly.
As a result, Port Royal has always been vulnerable to natural disasters. Just how much can be seen in this structure, the Giddy House. It tipped over in an earthquake in 1907 and got its name from the sense of disorientation it induces in those who enter. It's nothing, however, compared to what Port Royal experienced back in June 1692.
The denizens of Port Royal were no strangers to catastrophe. They were frequently beset by hurricanes. They'd had an earthquake 4 years earlier, a minor one. But the morning of June 7th was frightening to those few people who were up really early and saw that the sea was strangely glassy. As the morning wore on, it was terribly sultry. The air was very heavy. And the sky turned a brassy color. Shortly before noon, there was an absolutely apocalyptic event.
In many places, recounted a survivor, the earth cracked, opened, and shut with a motion quick and fast. And of these openings, 200 or 300 might be seen at a time. In some of these, people were swallowed up. In others, they were caught in the middle and pressed to death. And in others, the heads only appeared, in which condition the dogs came and ate them.
Here you have 2,000 buildings, and all but about 160 slid into the sea in a matter of seconds because there were also 3 tidal waves, and almost all the shipping in the harbor got all freaked up and thrown on top of the buildings, and it's really scary. It's like some of these Hollywood movies, but this actually happened to these people.
Perhaps the most compelling account of the earthquake is etched on the headstone of Louis Galdi in the graveyard of St. Peter's Church. He was swallowed up in the great earthquake, by another shock thrown into the sea, and miraculously saved by swimming until a boat took him up. Galdi was one of the few to survive. He went on to become a church warden. The fate of his fellow citizens must have given him cause for prayer. 2,000 people, about a third of Port Royal's population, died immediately in the disaster. Approximately the same number perished in the following weeks from diseases caused by the rotting of unburied corpses. The town itself was devastated. 33 acres, nearly 2/3 of Port Royal, collapsed into the sea. Gone was everything from 5 of the island's 6 forts to Henry Morgan's grave. Even in its decimated state, Port Royal's notorious reputation survived. Looters roamed the streets, cutting off the fingers of the dead to more easily pilfer their rings. Others dove into the water, recovering what they could from the rubble below.
REFM, thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka. REFM, thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Others dove into the water, recovering what they could from the rubble below. Clergymen preached this catastrophe of biblical proportions was God's punishment for Port Royal's wicked ways. Perhaps they were right. The town was never the same. Though rebuilt, it was hit by a series of hurricanes and fires that drove many residents to relocate to Kingston, a new settlement that became the island capital. Scientists, however, have another explanation for the cause of the disaster.
The key to the destruction at Port Royal is the fact that it's on this unconsolidated sand. And when you get unconsolidated sand like that and in a major earthquake, the violent shaking suspends every particle of sand with water momentarily. So what is firm foundation ground at one point now is just a liquid. It's just like water.
Whether by liquefaction or God's wrath, the earthquake turned Port Royal into an instant time capsule. Like Pompeii and Herculaneum, Roman cities buried by a volcano in 79 AD, Port Royal was now that rarest of archaeological phenomena, a catastrophic site.
The thing about Port Royal that makes it so special and unique is the fact it's the only sunken city in the New World. There's not another one like it because of its historical importance and the extremely good preservation present at the town. It's the dream of any nautical archaeologist to excavate.
Edwin Link was the first nautical archaeologist to make that dream come true. In 1959, under the auspices of the National Geographic Society and the Smithsonian Institution, he led an expedition to survey the sunken city. Link conducted his work about 100 yards offshore, near a buoy known as the Church Beacon. Legend holds that it marks the site where St. Paul's Church sank in the earthquake. Beneath the buoy, Link recovered a wealth of artifacts, none more intriguing than this pocket watch. An X-ray photograph of the face reveals traces of its vanished hands, stopped at 11:43.
It's probably the first time in the history of archaeology that the actual time of the destruction is actually recorded with frozen hands on a watch dial.
Link's expedition literally put old Port Royal on the map and changed the minds of skeptics who believed that because of reconsolidation, a natural landfill process, there was little, if anything, left of the sunken city.
Link's greatest contribution was the fact that he proved that there was a sunken city down there and that it had great merit to have somebody have a bigger project.
That somebody was Bob Marks, an underwater archaeologist. He would lead his own expedition 5 years later, and recover enough artifacts to rival the plunder of any Port Royal pirate. Edwin Link's 1959 expedition to Port Royal and his recovery of the pocket watch indicating the time of the earthquake intrigued many with the probability of more treasures to be found below. Perhaps no one was more curious than Bob Marks, an underwater archaeologist imbued with the lore of the sunken city.
When I was 5 years old, I read a book about a guy who claimed that he walked the streets of Port Royal. The cathedral bell was chiming. Skeletons were in the taverns with flagons in their hands, drinking the booze. And I read that over and over and over, and I kept saying, one of these days, I'm going to go there and do that.
That day came in 1964, when a development company announced plans to turn Port Royal into a Caribbean version of colonial Williamsburg. That meant dredging for cruise ship piers, right where the sunken city was located. When Marks heard that news, he took action.
I was able to convince the governments, with the help of the Organization of American States and UNESCO, both organizations which I was consultant to on underwater archaeology, to save all the goodies down there. And little did I know at the time that I'd spend the next 4 years around the clock working and only do a tiny part of the site, like 5% of the overall site.
Marks excavated that portion of the site most threatened by the proposed dredging. Working in depths as low as 25 feet, he used an airlift, a long vacuum-like tube, to pump the silt onto a barge, where small artifacts collected on a screen. Marks didn't know what he would find, but he had a dream.
From the very, very beginning, when I first started the excavation here at Port Royal in 1964, I dreamt about, let's find Henry Morgan's grave, because we knew he was buried at Port Royal, or at least his tombstone.
Marks's quest wasn't easy. Sewage from Kingston severely limited underwater visibility. Sharks lurked nearby. Cave-ins and earthquakes threatened.
You're working in a cesspool, but the information that you're getting, you can't get anyplace else. So we put up with it day in, day out. And every morning, I'd wake up so excited to say, okay, what am I going to find today?
Apparently, a lot. Marks may not have found Morgan's grave, but he and his divers seem to have salvaged everything else. They recovered thus far the largest haul of artifacts from the sunken city, in the millions by Marks's own estimate, all of which fit his definition of treasure.
Treasure is anything of importance to mankind that comes out of the sea or from a land site. So treasure doesn't have to be gold and silver. It's something that's interesting for people, and it's something that adds to the knowledge of the past. That's what treasure is.
Some of Marks's most interesting treasures are the oldest ever found in Jamaica.
Soon after I started the excavation, I realized that others had lived there before the pirates settled in Port Royal in 1655, because I began finding Arawak artifacts. Arawaks were the first settlers on the island. They were there at least 1000 AD, and they were all over the Caribbean in different islands. And some of the first artifacts we found were these religious figurines that you see here, made out of stone, probably of Indian gods. And we found several of those also in wood, in very good condition. And the next thing we started to find was a number of ceramic vases and pots like you see here. This particular one here is really great because it's in the shape of an Arawak canoe that was used mainly for fishing and transportation between the islands. And these adzes or axe heads are interesting because these two here are made out of jadeite, and the nearest source of jadeite is Guatemala, which shows that they had trade, all the way to Central America. The two biggest are weapons used to fight, and the smaller one is used as kind of a axe for chopping wood or digging out a canoe or something like that. So it really was great to find all these Indian artifacts on the site.
Most of Marks's finds are fittingly stored in a landmark building, Port Royal's Old Naval Hospital, built in 1819 and owned by the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. As the main repository for Marks's artifacts, the hospital has become a latter-day version of the city that sank just beyond its seawall. The grounds are littered with artillery Marks brought up from various shipwrecks, including mortar balls from what is believed to be the Ranger, a vessel that once belonged to pirate Black Bart Roberts. and cannon from what may be the HMS Swan, a British naval vessel that was thrown onto a building by one of the 3 tidal waves that followed the 1692 earthquake. Even the outhouses claim a connection to Port Royal's storied past. The bricks are recycled from the hundreds of thousands Marx reclaimed from the sunken city. Inside the hospital where naval officers once awaited treatment, artifacts await further study. A small selection reveals how life was lived in the pirate town at the time of the Great Quake. This was originally thought to be a cooking baster, but analysis of its contents at the British Museum revealed that it's really a urethra syringe. With it, a mixture of lime and molasses was injected into a man's penis to treat venereal disease. These lead pieces were used as weights in the fish and meat markets. Their markings, however, indicate an amount more than they actually weigh. Whoever patronized the salesman who used them got cheated. And a crushed pewter chamber pot permanently bears the impact of the earthquake's brutal force. But it's in the Institute of Jamaica, in Kingston, that one finds perhaps Marx's most valuable object.
Every diver dreams of finding a treasure chest, and here I actually found the wooden chest, and inside were 3,000 of the most perfect silver coins, because the same anaerobic conditions that protects all the organic material also protected the silver, and they were the most perfect coins I ever found.
This piece of 8, plundered by pirates from a Spanish galleon, is one of the few left from Marx's excavation. It's kept in a vault because most of the other coins have since disappeared and are presumed stolen, grim proof of their irresistible allure. It also provided the irrefutable proof the Jamaican government required to halt the planned dredging of the harbor. Because of Marx's work, the sunken city would not be disturbed, but rather discovered anew by future underwater explorers. Every underwater expedition to the sunken city at Port Royal has been distinctive. Edwin Link's 1959 exploration was the first and raised tantalizing possibilities for those who followed. The dig conducted by Bob Marks in the 1960s was the largest, yielding the greatest quantity of artifacts. In 1981, the longest and most detailed study of Port Royal began when the Jamaican government invited the Institute of Nautical Archaeology at Texas A&M to excavate. Donnie Hamilton led the expedition.
Originally I said, okay, I will go 1 year and see what the conditions are like. So we went out there, we found that we could conduct controlled excavations, we could take photographs, we could take underwater video, we could find artifacts. So what started to be a 1 year trial excavation turned out to be 10 years of going to Jamaica. From that first year, we saw that there wasn't another site like it, probably in the world, that's comparable to what you find at Port Royal. Anybody who's interested in 17th century English archaeology, that's the site to excavate.
Unlike Bob Marks, whose site was predetermined by proposed harbor dredging, Hamilton could choose where he wanted to excavate. After consulting period maps of Port Royal, he selected what was once a busy intersection in the commercial center of town. This area was chosen because it's probably the only portion of the sunken city where one finds buildings that sank vertically with minimal distortion. This phenomenon was caused by the liquefaction that occurred during the earthquake. Hamilton's team uncovered 8 buildings ranging from a probable tavern and cobbler shop to private residences. Using a water dredge, a more flexible version of an airlift, Hamilton's team gathered artifacts at depths of less than 15 feet. It was just the first step of many to conserve the past.
Underwater archaeology is very expensive in terms of conservation. While we may spend 3 months working in the summer, it may take 3 to 5 years to conserve all the artifacts we bring up in one excavation season.
Hamilton explains the steps involved in the conservation of metal objects, the kind most susceptible to decay and incrustation.
The biggest problem we have with the artifacts from Port Royal is just the fact that they're all covered with marine growth from being 300 years in the salt water. And so the first process we have to go through is x-raying them to find out exactly what is inside each one of these incrustations or concretions. We take each encrusted object and make an x-ray of it before we start the conservation process, and then the x-ray shows the interior detail. On this x-ray you can see the trigger of a gun. Here's the side plate of the gun, the spring inside behind the side plate, and then part of the hammer which held the gun flint. And the x-ray shows us clearly the degree of preservation, and it determines the next process as we go through. As soon as we evaluate the x-ray and determine what's inside, then we just start mechanically cleaning the incrustation off the object. Once we remove all the incrustation off an object, if there's any substantial metal remaining, we just put it into electrolytic vat, and the electrical current, as it flows through the object, loosens up all the incrustation or the corrosion products, and it allows it just, you flake it off with your finger. And this, in the process, it stabilizes the metal. Then after we go through electrolysis, we just go through a rinsing process to remove all the residue of this chemical, and then we seal the object off in a vat of microcrystalline wax, which then stabilizes it, and we're allowed to put it on display then.
This cross-section of artifacts collected by Hamilton and his underwater archaeologists illustrates the vibrant and varied life that flourished in Port Royal during the latter half of the 17th century. Onion-shaped liquor bottles and a clay pipe recall the laissez-faire attitude of the social scene. A cannonball and shot gauge confirm the strategic importance of the harbor. A porcelain Chinese food dog offers exotic evidence of Port Royal's status as an international trading post. And a gold wedding ring, buckles, and a pearl earring hint at Port Royal's wealth. Ironically, they do not fit Hamilton's definition of treasure.
I'm an archaeologist, so I define treasure in terms of data. Data is a treasure because data is interpretable. You can do something with it. Gold to me is immaterial, but does it have marks on it that I can identify to a maker or to a time period? It directs our research, tells us where to go to find the historic documents or the records that fill in the gaps. And so that's what's a treasure to me.
To Hamilton, these seemingly ordinary pewter plates are treasure because they bear the mark of its maker, a pineapple with the initials SB. Searching for who SB was turns an archaeologist into a detective and demonstrates the invaluable role documents play in reconstructing the past. After consulting several archives, including a 1680 Port Royal census, Hamilton discovered that SB was Simon Benning, a local pewter maker. Further research located his will, providing information on his family and property holdings, while his inventory quantified his success as a pewter maker.
We know from Simon Benning's inventory that he had over 2,000 finished plates, which is a very large inventory. Essentially, he's the only pewter maker in the entire island.
With only a set of initials as his starting point, Hamilton's research ended with a profile of Simon Benning, Port Royal's pewter maker. He was likely born in Tuthill, England, came to Port Royal via Barbados around 1663, bought property on High Street, had a wife, 2 sons, and a daughter, prospered in his trade, and died in 1687, 5 years before the Great Quake.
I like Simon Benning because essentially I brought him back to life through the excavation and the research that we conducted with the artifacts that we could relate back to him.
Bringing back to life the citizens of Port Royal doesn't always require an artifact with a mark on it or documentation. Sometimes the past becomes more human simply by an act of compassion. While excavating the last structure on their site, Hamilton and his team found the remains of 3 children caught in the quake. It was enough to stir the heart of even the most professionally detached archaeologist.
One child was at the back hearth, and the wall fell over, and so the child was between the wall and the floor. And then we found another child at the front door at the house. Either the child was either running into the house or running out of the house, but it was right at the front door.
Yeah, this is the cutting edge. You're listening to Port Royal. Maybe you have never heard it like that before, but it's just the history of Port Royal and the archaeological findings that people come and excavate and found in Port Royal as them plan it, the wickedest city on earth in that time. Earthquake shake it. Scientists them tell you why it get shake. The Christian them say it's because it is the wickedest place. We don't know what going on with Montego Bay then. Given what is happening there. This is the cutting edge. The time is 12 o'clock.
Boom, Mutabaruka, cutting edge, first man I do it, I come out to speak.
So in a situation like that, there is an emotional involvement.
Hamilton had the children's remains buried in the graveyard of St. Peter's Church. Their modest tablet may not lure any treasure seekers, but it's valuable in its own right. It's the only memorial to the victims of the earthquake of 1692. In spite of the impressive recoveries made by the Link, Marks, and Hamilton expeditions, much of Port Royal has yet to be explored. Of the 33 acres that originally sank, 20 have been lost to reconsolidation, nature's own landfill process. Of the remaining 13 sunken acres, only 3.5 have been excavated.
Only a very small area of Port Royal has been excavated because it is such a time-consuming thing to work underwater, and because you're working in 10-centimeter levels as you dig, it takes a long time to excavate a single area.
Marianne Franklin, a PhD candidate at the Institute of Nautical Archaeology, is planning the next excavation at Port Royal. Her site is the shipwreck of what is believed to be the Ranger, a vessel with a curious history. Of French origin, it was seized off the west coast of Africa by Bartholomew Roberts, also known as Black Bart, one of history's most infamous pirates.
He was interesting because unlike most pirates, he was a teetotaler, and he made his men sign articles. Every pirate had to sign articles agreeing to the rules of the ship, and his included no swearing and no drinking and lights out by 8 o'clock.
On the high seas, however, Black Bart was a terror, raiding and plundering at will during the early 18th century. The British Navy finally brought him down after a long pursuit and a short battle off the Guinea coast. Following Roberts' bloody death, the Ranger returned to Port Royal, where it sank in a hurricane in 1722. Bob Marks located a shipwreck during his excavations in the 1960s that loosely fit the description of the vessel. Franklin intends to determine definitively if it is the Ranger. She doesn't expect to find pirate plunder on board during this exploratory dive. Anything of monetary value has long since been salvaged, but Franklin does hope to find her own version of treasure.
Treasure for an archaeologist is not material goods, things you can hold or sell for monetary value. What's neat is that you can go down, look at the archaeological record, put it with the historical record, and get a better understanding of a different time in the past. Then make sure that the information you find gets to the public so that kids can understand, because if you just keep what you find to yourself, you're no better than the pirates. The interesting thing about finding the Ranger and doing this excavation now is, as we speak, they're excavating Blackbeard's vessel, Queen Anne's Revenge, off the coast of Carolina. These two vessels were both used by the pirates at the end of the Golden Age of piracy in 1721. So archaeologically, we'll have something to compare it to from the same era, another vessel. And these are the only two ships that have been excavated by archaeologists using controlled techniques.
But Bob Marks proves, however, that one need not utilize the controlled techniques of an archaeologist to recover a wealth of artifacts in the waters off Port Royal. He shows just how easy it is during his first return to the sunken city in over 30 years.
I went out there in 40 minutes just using snorkel equipment because no scuba equipment was available, and hand fanning with my little hand. I went and found all these little goodies you see here, and it gives you an idea of the diversity of different stuff there.
Among Marx's finds are broken bits of Chinese porcelain, musket balls, a child's marble, broken pipe stems. These two, when put together, reveal where the pipe was made, Glasgow, Scotland.
They're listening to Port Royal. Port Royal. I know a lot of you have never heard it like that before, but as we said, this is school. This is sometimes church, tabernacle, mosque. This is a history of Port Royal. Something that you might have heard in school, but not like this before. Cutting edge. We're there with you. It's now 7 minutes past 12. As we tell you before, this next part of the program is dedicated to this day, the 2nd of November. And the 2nd of November, 1930, a man by the name of Tafarai Makonnen was crowned the Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie I. So, as Rastafari, we celebrate. And this program, we celebrate it musically. We're going to celebrate it musically. We're going to play some ads and come back to it. Cutting edge. Yes, cutting edge. Celebrate Emperor Haile Selassie I Coronation Day with music. Here goes.
And I looked up, there was a man coming towards me, which I found very striking. He was immaculately dressed, but he was... And I looked up, there was a man coming towards me, which I found very striking. He was immaculately dressed, but he was quite small, but very, very powerful. Great sense of energy coming off him. And he walked up to us and spoke to us, and with great charm. He had a very gentle, quiet voice, very quiet. He patted me on the head, and I can remember to this day the sense of being in the presence of someone who was more than a man. His eyes were very powerful, very dark, but very truthful. The sense of truth, honesty, perfection. And this is a memory that stuck with me all these years. And I'm pleased to have met him.
Haile Selassie is the champion, power of the Trinity. Build your mind in this vision. Serve the living God and live. Take your troubles to Selassie.
And his hands at the back, I'd already noticed. He had these quite sizable dents. And I suddenly realized that the tears were rolling down his face and splashing onto these damaged hands.
Well, I've searched and I've searched this great book of life. In the Revelation, look what I found. Haile Selassie is the child. Power of the Trinity. Build your mind in this.
and let all his enemies scatter. Let them that fear Jah now flee before Jah. As the smoke is driven away, Jah drive them away, and as the wax melteth before the fire, melt them also. Cause these are they that do counsel against Jah and his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds asunder and cast away their cords from them. But this time it won't be so, oh Lord. For the wicked shall be like the chaff and the wind driveth away, like the wax that melteth before the fire, so shall they be. Cause Jah Rastafari, King of kings, Lord of lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself, mighty and thunder of Exia, the Masagan, the Maui Rasta, Ramadan, the Lamb, tonight is the lady of the Moose, Nagas.
Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie. Look how long, since we have been waiting down there. We have suffered and felt the pain, year after year. Oh yeah, Rastafari. Oh, set me free from Babylon, slavery and misery. We are all of one religion, 'cause I'm a Juba on Rastaman. Jah, oh Jah Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie. Jah, oh Jah Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie. They took us away from Africa and brought us down here in Jamaica to work on the big plantation. All we see was frustration. Jah, oh Jah Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie. Jah, oh Jah Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie. Oh yeah.
You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Listen to the cutting edge with Mutabaruka. And RFM.
For everything is cool. Hail him for food. Hail him for shelter. Hail him for clothes. Hail him for everything, everything which is good. Hail Jah Rastafari. Hail Jah Rastafari. Hail Jah Rastafari. Before you go to your rest, you let go. When you wake and see the light, you let go. Hear them without any apology, you let go. Hear his imperial majesty, you hear them. Hail Jah Rastafari. Hail Jah Rastafari. Rastafari. Hail him for guide you on. Hail him for protection. Hail him for providing. Hail him for everything, everything which is good. Hail Jah Rastafari. Hail Jah Rastafari. Hail Jah
today is the 2nd of November, celebrating Emperor Haile Selassie Coronation Day, which happened on the 2nd of November, 1930, Ethiopia.
Yelling for everything which is
reckless gambler, and my little dollar bill could not spend. When I reached Zion Gate, then I sing, then I declare, in the middle of the sea, when the ship began to sing, Captain Selassie, I chose mercy over all, over all. Captain Selassie, I chose mercy over all, over all, over all. Captain Selassie, I chose mercy over all. Reckless gambler, and my little dollar bill could not spend. When I reached Zion Gate, then I sing, then I declare, in the middle of the sea, when the ship began to sing, Captain Selassie, I chose mercy over all, over all. Overall, Captain Selassie, I chose mercy overall, overall, overall. Captain Selassie, I chose mercy overall. I am my heart is filled with love, because Selassie, the Savior, has saved me. His precious blood that Babylon shed, still wash all the dreadlocks on them whiter than snow. 'Cause I and I in this world that I and I stole, and walks the streets of heights and gold. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful day, when Selassie washed I and I, sealed so well. Sailing on, I like those sailing on, sailing on, I like those sailing on. Selassie is the vessel, and all of its soul. I go sailing on. Oh, once I was a reckless gambler, and my little dollar bill could not spend. When I reached Zion Gate, then I sing, then I declare, in the middle of the sea, when the ship began to sing, Captain Selassie, I chose mercy over all. Once I was a reckless gambler, and my little dollar bill could not spend. When I reached Zion Gate, then I sing, then I declare, in the middle of the sea, when the ship began to sing, Captain Selassie, I chose mercy over all.
I saw Selassie, I stretched forth his hand to take I cross Jordan River. I saw Selassie, I stretched forth his hand to take I cross Jordan River. I saw Selassie, I stretched forth his hand to take I cross Jordan River. On our way to Zion. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Lord. The man that hear the word of Jah and harden his heart shall be burned in fire. The man that hear the word of Jah and harden his heart shall be burned in fire. The man that hear the word of Jah and accept it shall be his heart desire. On our merry way to Zion. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Lord. The man that hear the word of Jah and harden his heart shall be burned in fire. The man that hear the word of Jah and harden his heart shall be burned in fire. The man that hear the word of Jah and accept it shall be his heart desire. On our merry way to Zion. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Lord. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Rastafari. Zion, oh Lord.
Continent with Mutabaruka. We are listening to the whole of it.
I saw Selassie, I stretched forth his hand to take I cross Jordan River.
You are listening to Mutabaruka.
RFM, number one reggae station in the whole wide world, in Nigeria.
Mutabaruka have the whole place locked. Muta put the tape on cock. You don't know the same girls and the things, and it's all about the cutting edge. So we say keep it locked, Muta.
The man that hears the word of Jah and accept it shall be his heart desire.
Stepping Razor, Thursdays, 2 to 6 p.m. per IRFM. Coming through.
Nah, man, that no sound like Muta.
How we man deal with?
Alright, sir. Watch out, twins. Two of you can't make one of me. Stepping Razor. This and every Thursday, 2 to 6 p.m. Yes, Rasta. The art of war.
Everything you always wanted to say but didn't. I'm afraid.
Forward. Yeah, they're in the center celebration here. Musical celebration commemorating the coronation of Emperor Selassie I on the 2nd of November 1930 in Ethiopia. You know, Rastafari all over the world right now, from Ethiopia to Jamaica, from America to Africa. See this day as one of the most auspicious days in the Rastafari calendar. So we continue the journey musically, you understand, because there's so much music that praise Emperor Selassie I and Rastafari that we could have stayed until tomorrow and still play more and more and more and more. We continue the journey. Here goes.
Selassie I forever and ever and ever. King of kings, he'll always be endless as the time to me. I will hail eternally. Selassie I forever, until they crown another king to take the place of the royal hymn. I and I will forever sing Selassie I forever, until they wrote another book. On his royal face I look, no matter how long a time it took. Selassie I forever, Selassie I forever, forever and forever, until they crown another hymn. Selassie I forever, until they show I'm on the spot where they say his body rots, until they prove to me the light. Selassie I forever, until they found another man of whom the world can understand. On this old solid rock I'll stand. Selassie I forever, Selassie I forever, forever and forever, until they crown another hymn. Selassie I forever, yeah. Rastafari rules forever, forever and ever. They should strip me of my will and put my head on the guillotine. Still forever I will sing Selassie I forever, until they show I'm on the spot where they say his body rots, until they prove to me the lot. Selassie I forever, Selassie I forever, forever and forever, until they crown another hymn. Selassie I forever, King of kings he'll always be, endless as the time to me. I will hail eternally Selassie I forever, until they crown another king to take the place of the royal hymn. I and I will forever sing Selassie I forever, until they wrote another book. On his royal face I look, no matter how long a time it took. Selassie I forever, Selassie I forever, forever and forever, until they crown another hymn.
Continent with Mutabaruka. We are listening to no ornaments. You know here. Continent. The end. The end.
It is good that you are here to record this picture of me in my palace garden at Addis Ababa. People who see this throughout the world will realize that even in the 20th century, with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still beat Goliath.
Gaze, hurry up and me kiss me, say him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children, him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children, him come.
R.E.F.M. Thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Give thanks, give praise, give glory to the Most High. Him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children. Him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children. Him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children. Him come, Jah Rastafari him come, him come, him come. So we say, wake up in the houses now, wake up in the streets, wake up in the valleys, wake up on the mountain top, wake up ye mighty people from your sleepless slumber. There's no time to gaze, hurry up and me kiss me, say him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children. Him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children. Him come, Jah Rastafari come together his children. Him come, Jah Rastafari him come, him come, him come. So we say, with joy let's sing praises now to the King of Kings, the conquering Lion of Judah, our strength and our Redeemer. Sing praise ye mighty people, rise from sleep and slumber. There's no time to gaze, give all the glory to the King. We say, come, Jah Rastafari. Come together as children. Come, Jah Rastafari, come. Oh, come together as children. We say, come, Jah Rastafari, come. Come together as children. People from your sleepless slumber, there's no time to gaze. Hurry up and make gaze. We say, come, Jah Rastafari, come. Come together as children. Him come, Jah Rastafari, come. Oh, come together as children. We say, come, Jah Rastafari, come. Come together as children. Him come, Jah Rastafari, come. Him come, him come, him come. Mighty people, him come, him come, him come. Mighty Jaja, him come, him come, him come.
እንዲሁም የልዩነት በሚመለከት ረገድ አንዱ ዘር ከሌላው ዘር ይበልጣል ይሻላል የሚባል
For those of you who don't know this song, this is the original voice of Emperor Selassie the First. With the speech that Bob Marley did over and called it war.
ተሰረዘ አንድ ሰው በቆዳው ቀለም ብቻ የመብልቱ መጓደል ካልቀረ ለሁሉም ሰው የዘር ልዩነት ሳይታሰብ እኩል የኢኮኖሚክና ተመሳሳይ ሰብአዊ መብት ካልተሰጠው እነዚህ ከዚህ በላይ የተዘረዘሩት ሁሉ እስከተፈጸመበት ቀን ድረስ ሁላችንም የምንደክምለትና የምንመኘው የዓለም በሕግና በደንብ መተዳደር ሊደረስበት የማይቻልና እንደዚሁም በዓለም ላይ ሰላም ጸንቶ እንዲኖር የምናደርገው ሙከራ ሁሉ ባዶ ምኞትና መና ሆኖ የሚቀር ግብ እንዳይሆን የሚያሰጋ መሆኑ አስተምሮናል። በደቡብ አፍሪካ፣ በአንጎላ፣ በሞዛምቢክ የሚገኙት ወንድሞቻችን ካሉበት የባርነት ቀንበር ነፃ እስኪወጡ ድረስ መላው አፍሪካውና እስያኖች በዓለም ሸንጎ በእኩልነት ደረጃ ድምጻቸው እስኪደመጥ ድረስ የአፍሪካና የእስያ ክፍለ ዓለም ሙሉ ሰላም አላቸው ለማለት አስቸጋሪ ይሆናል። እኛ አፍሪካውያን ትግላችንን አናቋርጥም። በመጨረሻም መልካም መጥፎን ድል እንደሚነሳና እኛም እንደምናሸንፍ ጥርጥር የለውም። የዘር ልዩነትና ጭቆና የቅኝ አገዛዝ መሰረቱ ኢኮኖሚክ ነው። እንደዚህም አሰቃቂ ተግባሮች የሚወገዱት በኢኮኖሚክ መሳሪያ ነው። በአዲስ አበባው የአፍሪካ መሪዎች ጉባኤ የአፍሪካ አገሮች ዋና በቅኝ አገዛዝ ስር የሚገኙት አፍሪካውያን ካሉበት የባርነት ቀንበር ነፃ ለማውጣት በሚያደርጉት ትግል እንዲረዷቸው በማለት በገዢዎቻቸው ላይና ሙሉ የኢኮኖሚ ሳንክሲዮን እንዲደረግ ወስነው በስራ ላይ አውለውታል። ይህ አደራረግ እነዚህን እምቢተኛ መንግስታት ወደ ማሰብ መንገድ የሚመራቸው ስለሚመስለን ከማህበሩም ዓላማዎች ጋር የሚስማማ ስለሆነ መላው የተባበሩት መንግስታት አባሎች ተቀብለውት ስራ ላይ እንዲያውሉት አጥብቀን አደራ በማለት እንለምናለን። ሌላ ምርጫ ካለ የደቡብ አፍሪካና የፖርቱጋል መንግስታት ሀገሮቻቸውን በኢኮኖሚ ረገድ ለማድከም የሚፈልጉ አይመስልንም። እድል ስናገኝ ጊዜ ሳያልፍ የሚቻለንን ሁሉ እናደርግ። ደስ የማይል እርምጃ ከመውሰድ እንዳን። በዛሬው ጊዜ ታላላቅ መንግስታት እንኳ እድላቸውን የመወሰን ስልጣን በእነሱ እጅ ብቻ እንዳልሆነ ማስታወስ ይገባቸዋል። ሰላም እንዲኖር የሁላችንም ተባብሮ መስራት ይጠይቃል። የመጀመሪያውን እሳት የሚጭረው ማን እንደሆነ ይታወቃል። የሁላችንም እድል አንድ ነው፣ ወይ መጥፋት ወይ መዳን። ሁላችንም ጥፋትን አንፈልግም። ሁላችንም የዚችን ዓላማችን ላይ ድንቁርናና ድህነት፣ ችጋርና በሽታ እንዲወገዱ እንፈልጋለን። ሁላችንም የሰው ዘር የኒውክሌር ጦርነት እንዳይደርስበት እንፈልጋለን። ዛሬ ዓለምን የገጠማት ችግር ከዛሬ በፊት ከደረሰባት ችግር እጅግ የከበደ ነው። የሰው ልጅ ካለበት ችግር ለመውጣት የታሪክን ገጽ ያገላብጣል፣ ግን መፍትሄውን አላገኘም። ይህ ነው ታላቁ ፈተና። ከጥፋት እንድንድን ከተፈለገ የእግዚአብሔርን ሕግ ተከትለን አብረን ተባብረን የተቻለንን ተሻሽለን መኖር አለብን። ለመኖር ከፈለግን በጊዜያችን ከገጠመን ከባድ ችግር ለመዳን ቁልፉ የት ነው የምናገኘው? ከሁሉ አስቀድሞ የሰው ልጅ ከእንስሳ አስበልጦ የማሰብ ኃይል ወደ ሰጠው ፈጣሪያችን መዞርና መመልከት አለብን። በአምሳሉ የፈጠረው ሰው ራሱን እንዳያጠፋ እንደማይተው ማመን አለብን። ከዚያም ወደ ራሳችን መመልከትና ራሳችንን መመርመር አለብን። ካሁን ቀደም ያልነበረውን መሆን አለብን። ካሁን ቀደም የነበረው ይልቅ ገፋ፣ ብርቱ፣ መንፈሰ ጠንካራ፣ ልበ ሰፊ፣ አርቆ አስተዋይ ሆነን መገኘት አለብን። ጥቅምን የተወ ለአንድ መንግስት ሳይሆን ታማኝነቱ ለመላው ለሰው ልጅ ያደረገ አዲስ ዘር መሆን አለብን።
Let Jah arise and all his enemies scattered away. One day of them that they shall be like wax before fire. As the smoke of fire chalice goes away, we are listening to the whole of it. So I say, Jah, Rastafari.
We go spread his imperial majesty teachings around the whole earth. We go spread Haile Selassie teachings around the whole earth. Hear his words and receive him.
away their arms, feed them and clothe them, send them back to whence they came, back to the sea, show them that we are soldiers of honor.
We go spread His Imperial Majesty teachings around the whole earth. We go spread Haile Selassie high teachings around the whole earth. Hear His words and receive
of kings, His Imperial Majesty, Selassie, Rastafari, Selassie.
You have a picture of His Majesty Rasta? Yes, I am, Jalil. And they have a picture of His Majesty Trade? Yes, I am. Jah is within I. And they have a picture of His Majesty Rasis? Yes, I am.
Continent with Mutabaruka. We are listening to our amends. You know here. Continent. The end.
They have
the
a
end.
His Majesty Rasta? Yes, I am, Jalil. And they have a picture of His Majesty Trade? Yes, I am. Jah is within I. And they have a picture of His Majesty Rasis? Yes, I am. They have a picture of His Majesty.
REFM.
And they have a picture of His Majesty Trade? Yes, I am. Jah is within I. And they have a picture of His Majesty Rasis? Yes, I am.
We was told for all about this tune many times. This is like an anthem, you know. Yeah, this is like an anthem. We want to remind the people them that we're there with you little more from this, from 2 to 5:45 with the stepping razor. We have a special half hour tomorrow between 5 and, well, not more than 5 and 5:45. We are going to present according to the stepping razor. This is not a scientific poll, no scientific thing, but we're going to present the top 5 reggae album for 2017. You don't want to miss that. The top 5 reggae album for 2017, according to the stepping razor. And we're going to present the number 1 single for 2017, according to the stepping razor. So we don't want you miss that. Very, very calculating effort. You understand? And we know a lot of people have a whole heap of different in their mind, but we choose 5. Well, it's 10 we choose, but we're going to play 5 of them. We might tell you the whole 10, but it's 5 of them we're going to play. The 5 top reggae albums for 2017 according to the stepping razor, and also the number 1 single according to the stepping razor. So here we go again.
They have a picture of His Majesty Rasta. Yes, I am, Jalil. And they have a picture of His Majesty Dread. Yes, I am, Jah is within I. And they have a picture of His Majesty Rasis. Yes, I am.
There's a picture
You know, say, we couldn't dep on the radio on days like this, and we don't really give our input. This time we decide not to talk enough, but to give praises through the music. Because, you know, over the years, we use the secular music to project a spiritual understanding and a spiritual knowing. I don't have no pop music like Jamaican music where project spirituality. We continue the journey. Yes, we continue the journey.
The way, the truth, the light, the drum, the way, the truth, the light, the drum, the way, the truth, the light, the drum. The way, the truth, the light, the drum, the way, the truth, the light, the drum, the way, the truth, the light, the drum.
So, you know, so we play the wrong tune, though. We play the wrong version of that tune, you know. Believe you me. We play the wrong version of that tune, yeah. So, me now we look for the right version. We're going to get this.
I
smoking. Lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Working in a eye. Selassie I working in a eye. Selassie I working in a eye from Mount Zion high. In a eye from a Mount Zion high. You found the blessing of the King Selassie I. Give me a R, give me a A, give me a S, give me a D, give me a A, give me a F, give me a A, R, I. When you put them all together, that's a Rastafari. Haile is not ordinary. Emperor Selassie I the head dignitary. 1, 2, 3 times them saying bury-an. Up to now nobody never see nobody and Babylon nobody ramp with the daddy. How them fit said that Selassie I die and him still a give vibe to why you lie. Hey boy, how them fit said that his majesty dead and he still a put the vibes in my head. That's what I said. How them fit said that his majesty gone. How him gone. Selassie I working working in a eye. Selassie I 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 working in a eye from Mount Zion high. Yes I him, yes I him, yes I him. Him a we king of the chant of the sing. But the love Selassie bring. Give me a S, give me a E, give me a L, give me a A, double S, give me a I, give me a E. That I him. Ever living, ever faithful and never loving. You're not gonna know the king unless you get the blessing. Emperor Selassie I am Empress Menin. Pan the rainbow throne, them up the with sovereign. Crown Ethiopia, Israel's king. 72 nation come bow down to him. Prophecy was fulfilling and revealing. How them fi said that Selassie I die and him still a get the vibe to why you not, eh boy. How them fi said that his majesty dead and he still a put the vibes in my head, that's what I said. How them fi said that his majesty gone, how when gone, how when gone. Haile,
R.E.F.M. Thought-provoking, always smoking. Lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
One on, one love, one moon, one earth, one light. The all, my, Jah, Rastafari. Unfathomable, the master builder of creation.
Yeah, why you up the Rasta in a Manning's Hill. Raspido, the late great Raspido.
Supremacy, ruling among the mighty. He touched lightning and its arch, rebuked the wind and chastised thunder. Almighty. Him alone, the only international field marshal, general, Haile.
Haile, Rastafari, His Majesty I. African drums, Nyabingi drums, carving out my existence. Drums, more Her drums catapulting me through time. I hear the ancestors. I am my ancestors. Reliving, redefining Africa. The way, the truth, the light. Haile, Rastafari. Homeless spirit, kindle spirit, awakening the abyss. Rastaman, existing through the world. African world. Before God-like thoughts. Before life and death. Haile, Rastafari. The drum vibrating. Now you're being gay, down presser, go down further into the abyss. The drum vibrate. Now you're being gay, call of the wild. Free man, sound. Kete funde, sound in Africa. Life. Haile, Rastafari, His Majesty high. Zion gates are open wide. Hail him, the Majesty. Drum, African drums, calling ancestors. I am my ancestor. Shouting to the new spirits of Africa. Awake, newly born of this earth. African earth. Fight. Free man. Let the drum echo through time. Rastafari. Haile, Selassie. Rastafari. New feeling. New thoughts. New free man. Haile, His Majesty. Look again. New interpretation. Drums. Calling. Brighter light. Making the light link. Chains unbroken. Reaching out. Africa drum. Now your pinky drum. Sounding through the wind. Timeless. Endless. I create. Then recreate. I define. I redefine. Haile, His Imperial Majesty. The sun. The light. The beam. Down pressure. Down into the abyss. Alien images. No more the way, the truth, the light, the drum. 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 Drum. I redefine His Majesty. Hail the Majesty, the Sun, the Light. Down, pressure, down into the abyss. Jesus, go down.
With Mutabaruka, we are listening to all our meds. You know here, cutting edge, the edge, the edge.
I pray thee. Why do thee then raise to the people imagine of such fainting? Past kings of the earth and set themselves on the ruler's state council together. Against the Lord God, the Rastafari, and against his anointed saying, now come let us break their bands of sunder. And cast away the cards from us. The holy that seated in his heaven shall have. The Lord God, the Rastafari, shall have them in his region. For then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex with them in his soul displeasure. For yet if I set thy kings upon the holy mountains of Zion, I will now declare the creed. The Lord God,
we just hope that you enjoy the offering that we provide. As we say, we're celebrating Emperor Haile Selassie's coronation, the 2nd of November 1930. Today is the 2nd of November 2017, so you check that. We want you to know that we will be here again from 2 to 5:45. And at 5, well, after the cash party, we will be presenting the top 5 reggae album for 2017 according to the Stepping Razor, and the number 1 single according to the Stepping Razor. So we don't want you to miss that. And you know, so we have some explosive things that we want to explore. We want to give thanks to Fluffy Diva outside. Fluffy Diva outside, man. Give thanks to Fluffy Diva. I don't know is where I go on, but Sanjay left here from early. But we are continuing the journey. Yes, continue the journey. I think at 12, I'm going to tell you I must leave at 12 o'clock. When the program done 2 o'clock. But I don't know nothing. I will survive. I have been surviving for 20 odd years. So you know, why you look Vita? First you see Vita come along at the studio at the night, you know. Why you look Vita? Say, he might bring extra food. Why you look Iwawa? We say Iwawa don't watch you in the night, yeah. Why yell him up? Yes, why yell him up? My brethren. Yeah, man. My brethren. So, we give thanks, as we say. I hope you like the music. A Rastafari vibes we are dealing with. You understand? Yes, Rastafari vibe. If we not do it, we don't know what we're going to do it. You say, Elan powder kega go on now would in a Montego Bay there. May I tell you? Gunshot flying here and there and everywhere. Right? Bongo man. Hey, Bongo man, a long time I don't see no brethren. Wait. Susumba.
The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
So, clock a play trick for me, you know. Where are the matrix? Oh, what kind of clock that Rasta? No, I tell you, say, it get me bum me a while ago, you know, after me done run, hey, you see it? That place have mad people, you know, Rasta. No, I tell you, that place have mad, you know. Because after me, I look for the clock and I say, at 2 o'clock, I see you come in. I say, I look back for the clock and I say, 1 o'clock. A crack, you know. Crack, man. Crack. A crack, Rasta. Crack. It's like them. It's like a daylight every time, you know. How it go? Eh? No, you sure say, no, but if it's not going to change, it change at 12, right? Then would I tell you, wait, let me look on me thing, I have time change, Rasta, because at 2 o'clock, Rasta, 2 minutes past 2, my clock say. That's at 2 minutes past 1. At 2 minutes past 2. No, I'm frightened, you know. Come here, so I close up the program at 1 o'clock. You know, anyway, give thanks to the moment. Give thanks to the time. We're there with you again. So you know, man? You're good. You scare the people in your community with the bulb. Hey, you can't imagine you as a red man and put the bulb in your mouth and I light it up. No, if all me who know how the bulb work would have run from you, you know. No red man is supposed to put the bulb in their mouth and I light it up, you know. You can't imagine the nigga there with them to that. Yes, anyway. And you know, so tomorrow we have a little special feature upon the Stepping Razor. The top 5 reggae album for 2017. Him not listen to me, you know. But you can't use your phone, brethren. At 2 years you have, you know. I want to know what, man. Just like when you have 2 eye. When you see look 2 eye, one thing you see, you know, and it's way in front of you. I say, I have a special feature tomorrow upon the Stepping Razor. The top 5 reggae albums for 2017. It is not a scientific poll, but I use in my judgment according to where we play over the period of the year.
You mentioned it last week.
Yeah, last week I mentioned it. And I'm going to present the top single. Reggae I deal with, you know. Because I'm not a dancer, I don't know where it's at the dancer. It's a presumptuous of me to go say, I present, unless I go gather up the whole town now. Yeah, I'm not talking about this strategy thing, man. No, you can't clear this strategy. You know what? Do your program.
No, I'm sure you said.
No, because if you go history now, I'm sit down here, so I make you go and tell me the history, you know. Yeah, what I say, I would be presumptuous for say, I'm going to present the top 5 dancehall album, unless I consult Uno. Yeah. But I can't buy the consult Uno. Too much problem. Yeah, too much problem. I don't going to tell me some tune when I know what I play for my program.
Why? We have to go search for some real good album.
Well, all the dancehall man, if you say every dancehall album wicked. Yeah, everyone I know, if you say the dancehall album. And the top dancehall single, you know, say, man, that come shoot me for that. Yeah. Anyone who you shoot, man, shoot you, know, because you should deal with the other one. Mm-hmm. If you go to popcorn, a man shoot you and say, you should have said, my bad, if I shoot. You understand? You know, but shot would I get. So me I play it safe. When we say reggae now, me know the reggae man them now come shoot me. Yeah, they were going to say, sure, we Muta deal. Not the number one, but them cool. Them not going to want. You can't imagine me going to say, the number one tune is El Chapo by Popcorn. You guys, hey, I would have bought it. I'm going to deal it. I'm going to man. You understand? I'm mad in my man. Yeah, when my father did have bigger tune than that, and then ding dang go come with film things that. You understand? So, me know when I say reggae, me safe. Me not definitely not the dance hall. You know what I say? Me not definitely not the dance hall thing, you know. No, me not definitely not it at all. Anyway, we gone, you know. Later, you understand? Later will be greater. Here we go. Last tune, and it was carry out. Yes.
Saramasakana, mi uncle Anya. Look how long they brought us down here, have us in bondage, right through these years, causing us to fuss and fight among ourselves. Nothing for me down there. There's got to be hell. Nothing to achieve down there. It's downright hell. They took us away from civilization and brought us to slave in this big plantation, causing us to fuss and fight among ourselves now. Nothing for me down there, it's hell, hell. Nothing to achieve down there, it's hell. Saramasakana, minabania. Saramasakana, miungu anya. Saramasakana, minabania. Saramasakana, miungu ania. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords now sit upon his throne and he observes us all. He won't hurt us or desert us. He'll shield us through the years. He'll shield us through
IRFM on Sunday, IRFM on Monday, IRFM on Tuesday, IRFM on Wednesday, IRFM on Thursday. I say on Friday is IRFM and on Saturday is IRFM. And you have a next day?